So they don't always have to be loud, and they're not so easy to spot. Now, myth 4, narcissists don't have emotions. True, the reality is that they do, but they struggle to regulate them rather. They might lash out, feel deeply wounded by criticism, or experience moments of self-pity. And most times, like I said earlier, they can't control their emotions. So you think, oh, they don't have emotions, but they do. And their emotions are very deep-seated. They either are able to control them outwardly, but they can't control themselves. They control others rather than controlling themselves. And then myth 5, which is a very important one: narcissists can change if you love them enough. The truth of the matter is that NPD, those that are narcissists, those that have that personality disorder, they hardly change. And that's something that we might find difficult to accept, but it's the truth. It's a deeply ingrained personality disorder. It's not just a bad habit, not just something that you can move off today. You can say, oh, I don't want to be a narcissist tomorrow. Therapy can help, but most of them don't even acknowledge that they have a problem. So how can they help themselves? So I've given the difference between the clinical narcissism and the NPD. And most people have narcissistic traits. There's no doubt about it. But the key difference lies in intensity, consistency, and impact on others. In short, there are levels to this thing. I've told you already. You can have the mild and moderate ones, you can have the severe and chronic ones, and you can have the ones that are really, really in the bad shape at the end of the spectrum. Now, what do you mean by mild to moderate? And so I can give some examples. It could be, for a narcissist that is mild or moderate, it could be a situational thing. Someone becomes arrogant after they become successful. So it's not really an inborn thing. It's situational. It's because they became successful. It's because they found out their power over somebody else. It's because they found themselves in a position of authority, and they've decided to use that authority to manipulate and control others. So those kind of people may have moments of empathy. They may have moments of self-awareness, that they know that this behavior is bad, but I'm in this position, so I should be able to do it. They can maintain healthy relationships if they work on their behavior, and they can take responsibility for mistakes when confronted. So that's the mild and moderate. Now, the severe and chronic, you see manipulation coming. They lack empathy. They are entitled. And that entitlement is consistent across all the different areas of their lives: the family, in the work, in their friendship, in their romantic relationships. They cannot handle criticism, and they react with rage. They blame everybody. Is it that they're blaming or they're being the victim? And then they use others without remorse to fulfill personal needs. Like a husband that a wife was telling me about, he would make the menu. He would tell her this is what he expects for for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And then he will give her small money. And then he'll put things like salad, things like, 3-course meal, and then he'll give her little money. And then she says, oh, this money is not enough. He says, oh, I know you can do it. I know you have the ability to ensure that, we get this, I get this. The manipulative to a core. Uses others without remorse. She doesn't care where the girl is going to get the money from, but she will get the money and she'll make the meal. And they rarely change because they do not see their problem as their behavior as a problem. So they're the ones that are in the meetings. They always think they're right. You bring them to a meeting, maybe a husband and wife. You're counseling them. He tells her story. She tells her story rather. He tells his story, and you settle. You as the mediator says, oh, Oga or Madam, you were wrong in this. You were this and that. The person will say, okay, they've heard. And then the next thing, immediately, the person is going back to what they've said was wrong, because they can't even see that they're wrong at all. So I've given you different people on the spectrum, and I wanted to talk about the psychological impact of living with a narcissist. What are the emotional toils? What are the things that, a person that goes through that, you know, goes through. And remember, our phone lines are 07000 and 09155 Now, before I go into the emotional aspect of living with this narcissist, I said I was going to say something about how do they become narcissists? Why? How do people be? How do if you are like me, the person that I've described is a very strange person, and you wonder, are there really people like this? And how do they become people like this? Now, science says that narcissism develops due to a mix of genetics, childhood experiences, and environmental factors. My people, parenting is key to a lot of things. People are the backgrounds, they're the people, they're what we see, what we hear. All these things, they shape us. Who we are, how we are brought up, they shape us and they come out in full bloom when we're adults. So, childhood upbringing is one of the biggest factors. Most narcissists develop their traits early due to parenting styles that shape their self-worth in extreme ways. So you have one, the golden child, who is overindulged, that overindulged child. And we're seeing quite a number of overindulged children nowadays, children that their parents can't say no to. Children that, oh, I've waited for so long to have this child, so I can't say no to the child. I actually remember someone telling me that their child was gold because she had waited for so long to have a child. Maybe, and this was just even one child, but maybe for another family, you've waited for years to have a male child, and so you finally have this male child. Is going to be so overindulged, and you don't know that you're raising a narcissist under your roof. Now, children that are always told that they are better, smarter, and more special than others. Do I say that we shouldn't tell our children that they're good? We shouldn't tell them, we shouldn't praise them, we shouldn't even tell them things like that to motivate them. We should. We owe our children the duty to tell them that they can be better, they're smarter, and and we can acknowledge it when they are. But to tell them that they are better than all the others in such a way that it inflates them and adds to an ego is bad. When we shield them from criticism, and that's another thing that is happening so much today in today's world, our children can't be criticized. We don't criticize them, and we don't want people to criticize them. We hear people going to school, beating teachers, all these things. They're making a child think that they're superior and they're entitled to special behavior and special attention, and it breeds a narcissist. They expect admiration and struggle with rejection. Then there's the excessive criticism, the unworthy child. Another child experiences harsh parenting, neglect, or conditional love. So they in turn give that to others because that's what they know. And I went to boarding house and there were a lot of seniors that were very wicked. And you find out that most of them, wicked like that, sadistic tendencies, grew up with parents that were like that. So that was what they brought up. And so narcissism is a defense mechanism to them because they hide their insecurities behind arrogance. It's been said that a bully has always most often been bullied themselves. So they become, some of them, unworthy child, excessive criticism, become covert narcissists, always playing the victim and seeking sympathy. And then there's the inconsistent parenting. That's the confused child. The parents alternate between overpraising, harsh criticism, and then the child learns to seek validation. And we've said that one of the traits of being narcissist is seeking validation. They constantly want people to say good things about them, even if those things are lies. And so they become manipulative to gain approval using charm, guilt, or control to get what they want. And then we have genetical and biological factors. Some research suggests narcissism can be inherited. Hmm. If a parent has strong narcissistic traits, their child may be more likely to develop them. I say that it's the behavior, it's the environment really that brings out all these things. And then also, science shows that brain studies show that narcissists may have less activity in brain areas linked to empathy and emotional regulation. I don't want someone now to take that as an excuse and say maybe it's my part of my brain. We'll go through a brain scan first and then we'll know whether it really is. And then we have cultural and social influences, especially in today's world. A society that rewards self-promotion, status, and external validation. And that's why you see people will do almost anything, to trend, to have clicks, to have comments, and you're wondering, and they become egoistic as a result of that. They become narcissist as a result of that. You can't correct them, you can't criticize them, and they keep on wanting that outside and external validation. And then you hear stories, things like, do you know who I am? How many followers do they have? Celebrity worship, reality TV, social media, influencers can make people prioritize appearance, administration, and power over empathy and genuine connection. So I want to ask parents, especially those listening to me, are you breeding a narcissist in your house? Please look inward, because you're not helping that child if you're overly indulging them, if you're excessively punishing them, and if you're confusing that child, that the child doesn't even know where to stay, and needs to be outwardly good and manipulative to get that attention they need from you. Okay, so I will bring in my guest now. Ngozi, are you in? Okay. Is Ngozi in?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you clearly. Thank you so much for joining today's show. Now,
You are welcome.
how do you want to introduce yourself to my listeners?
Yes, my name is Ngozi Ejegunu.
Okay.
I am first a woman, then I was a wife.
Yeah.
I am still a mother. I moved to the US in 2023 because I was running from abuse. So I am here now, starting all over again, but doing it on my own terms. So that is my introduction.
Thank you. A worthy introduction, I must say. And you're on Instagram. Your handle is Zing Voice, and I started following you because I was intrigued by the things that you were talking about. I think apart from you first started with your breast cancer. Yes, because you're a breast cancer survivor, and I used to look at you, and you had this mastectomy, a single mastectomy, and you were so bold, to put it out there, to show people your scars. And I was really intrigued about it. And then the story of the abusive relationship came to play. So at what point did you realize you were dealing with a narcissist?
It was in 2022, to be honest.
2022?
In 19... Okay, yeah. So it was in 2022.
Yeah. 2022. How many years were you married for?
I was with him for 25 years and we were married for 22.
Okay, so 25 years married.
No, sorry, we were married for 23. So the 2 years was the toasting thing. So we were together for 2 years, then we got married and we were married for 23 years. So I was with him for 25 years.
25 years. And it was 2 years after 25 years that you found out that you were living with a narcissist.
Yes, so I got married in 1999 and it was in 2022 I found out that I was living with a narcissist.
How did you find out? What made you
So
think all of a sudden that, oh, this man must have a personality disorder that is narcissism? You know, what was it?
well, I had always known something didn't feel quite right, but I couldn't put
Place
a
your hand.
finger on it.
Yeah.
But the worst thing, this was what confirmed that feeling. I had gone to Egypt in 2022. I took a client to Egypt because she had stuff going on with her breast and she needed someone to go with her.
Yeah.
One night, I heard her talking to her husband on the phone. And there was just something about that phone call. And I just told myself, my phone calls with my husband and never like this. And I think that was when it dawned on me that something wasn't right with my marriage. And then I got back to Nigeria. I told him I am a very expressive person. So I told him what I had noticed. And basically, I was trying to tell him that if we don't do something about it, that I keep threatening that I'm going to do, but at this time, I will do it. He didn't take me seriously. But coincidentally, when I found out, things about narcissism just started popping up on Instagram.
The universe was helping you.
Yeah. Yeah. So things about narcissism just started popping up. I started reading. But one thing I will confess that I did first, I needed to be sure I was not a narcissist. I needed to be sure. So I will tell you for free that I also examined myself.
Important, very important, because like I said earlier, for those listening to us, a lot of people are narcissists, but we don't even know because we don't even understand what it means because we were brought up that way or because that's just the way we've been. So
Yeah.
you conducted the test on yourself. Yeah, we're listening, Ngozi.
So, so I started reading up on it, and each revelation, everything I read just kind of coincided with what I have been feeling over the years. So I will tell you for free. The first time I said you have changed was 2 years into the marriage. It's now I realized that you have changed. He had actually changed, and the traits have become full blown. But then again, we always feel abuse is only physical. So we ignore the mental, the psychological, and everything else.
Yeah.
So that was another area where I missed it. So by the time I found out that, I was dealing with a narcissist, the gaslighting, the inconsistency, the lies, it had gotten to the stage where it had already started messing with my head. And when I found out that he didn't seem to be bothered by any of my complaints or observations, I just woke up one morning. I went on Instagram. Instagram has been a lifesaver for me. I went on Instagram. I found a lawyer and I started. So I started with divorce proceedings, but everybody was like, "Oh, you are being emotional. You are being emotional." So I changed it to separation. And yeah.
Okay.
Basically.
So someone says they can't hear the contribution. So maybe could you increase the volume a bit? Okay, so what were the red flags that you saw? Because you've glossed over it. Someone that is living with a narcissist, what would they see? You've talked about gaslighting. I know what gaslighting is, but for the person that is listening, that doesn't even know what gaslighting is, which means, you say something, the person says, "Oh, no, that was not the way it was." And then you begin to doubt that what you even thought happened in the first place. What were the early red flags? Did you ignore them?
Okay.
Yeah. So what exactly?
Okay, so first and foremost, I want to also say this. Our childhood shapes who we become our adults.
Yeah.
It's a pity that parents are not very intentional about parenting. I realized that I had childhood trauma.
Yeah.
And I also did not find out till 2023.
Mm-hmm.
Now, with my husband, right, he used to remind me of my mother. I
Mm.
think that's a red flag.
Mm. Mm. Mm.
Because I am firstborn, right?
Mm.
I grew up, I think my mom is a narcissist, to be honest. I think so. But like I said, I have done a lot of studies.
Yeah.
I grew up, I grew up going through a lot of things.
Mm.
After I got married to my husband, there were a lot of things he used to do that reminded me of my mother.
Mm.
So I would react very badly when he did certain things. Now I realize that those reactions were because he kept reminding me of my mother.
Mm.
That was number one. Then all the five things you said, he had a high opinion of himself,
Mm.
you know. He also, I married a doctor for the dentist.
Mm.
So I realize people in certain professions almost tend to be narcissists. I'm going to realize that. But people in the medical profession, no offense intended, and people in clergy as well.
Mm.
Because I've heard
Yeah.
stories about pastors doing stuff to their wives before service and then going to stand on the same pulpit to preach.
Mm. 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 Mm.
So everything you mentioned, grandeur, them being full of themselves, the envy ones. We all believe that at some point in the marriage, we start going for events.
Mm.
It's after I left, there a lot of things started to make sense. We start going for events. It's now I realized that it was envy.
Mm. Mm.
We stopped going for events because I think for him, he felt that he wasn't at the level he wanted to be.
Mm.
So he stopped. We didn't used to go for events, and now I understand why.
Why?
And then for boundaries, he crossed a lot of boundaries, and because I wasn't setting them, I was letting a lot of things slide.
Mm.
I mean, there are some things that are really well, I write a lot about stuff, but I mean, because it's a radio show, I mean, if I was writing, I mean, I write on Instagram, that's not the problem.
Yeah.
But where my family was concerned, he crossed a lot of boundaries.
Mm.
Even with my personal space, there was financial abuse
Mm.
in the sense that, I don't understand how, yes, in Nigeria, we make it look like it's not a big deal. But husband, even with couples, there should be honesty and integrity.
Yeah.
I am beginning to realize that the financial abuse was very subtle. You know how somebody will take 500,000 from you, maybe the person needs money. You have told the person, this is my savings. I will give everything to you. Plus, but please give it back to me. The person says, okay. So you give him the 500,000. And guess what? When he wants to give you back, he starts giving you 50K, 100K, 30K, 20K. So you never get that money back. And really, that's financial abuse because you know that when you need money, you will not have any money. So you end up falling back on the person that you shouldn't even have. Do you get what
Yeah, I
I
get
don't
what
know
you're
how to
saying.
explain it,
So
but I
so
mean,
they make you
there's
dependent
a
on
lot
them
of financial
because
abuse.
it's control. Mm. So it's
Yes,
a control thing.
yes,
So they control everything, you know. So how do they
yes,
manipulate it?
yes.
So can you, I know you don't want to, you might not want to talk much, but can you give specific examples so that people understand a bit better what you're talking about?
Okay, so we would have a conversation, right?
Mm.
When it started to go, so this one, and I don't see this particular one. When I start having a conversation, then at one point she'll be like, well, I know I'm not a good husband,
Mm.
and I'm just trying to be the best husband the best husband for you. When you start a conversation and the person starts to sound like a victim.
Yeah.
So you end up forgetting what you people were talking about, and you need to telling him, "Oh no, it's
Okay.
not like that."
Yeah.
So we never have complete conversation
Mm.
because we go into victim mode. I will become guilty and maybe feel like, oh, maybe you're not giving this guy enough grace.
Mm.
So I noticed that a lot.
Mm.
Then we would also have very serious conversations. The next morning, I would say, oh, what we were talking about last night. This guy would act like
You can't
we
remember.
did not even have any conversation. Yes,
Or he will tell you that he
and
didn't
I
tell
would
you
just,
what he said the night before, that you must have misheard.
but you know the thing with that world, I would tell him we were in the room.
Mm,
I was standing by the mirror. You
mm,
were sitting on the bed.
mm,
So it got to the stage where I had to be that specific so that he couldn't, he still wrote out the word wiggling out because we would start talking,
mm.
he would trigger me, I would explode, and so bottom line was, and then with the triggers, right, he would do something, you know how, of course, the narcissist always knows he
Your
uses your
weak spots.
strength against you.
Yeah.
He uses your strength become your weak spots where a narcissist is concerned.
Yeah.
And that's where the manipulation comes in. I am a very organized person. I like structure. I like to plan. But he always used to do lastminute.com.
Mm,
And for me, I'm not saying that is wrong.
mm.
But you see for me, in marriage, communication is important.
Yeah.
If you can't do something at a certain time, and you know you live with a planner, let the person know. I mean, we will always extend grace to each other. But
Mm,
let the person know so that the person can adjust accordingly.
mm.
Because we used to do lastminute.com thing, I became a very anxious person. It got to, I mean, imagine being married to someone for over 20 years. But even when he's taking me out to eat, I will make sure I am with my wallet and card. I
Because
will never,
anything could
I
happen.
cannot explain this part. Even if I knew he could pay for me, I would just, I mean, and I didn't feel that was normal behavior. You should be able to just carry your bag and dust your makeup and leave your bag at home because you know that you are. So it indirectly means that I did not have a sense of safety and security around him.
Mm.
I would always carry. I mean, those are things you do when you're in university. You know when you say you carry next money. I always used to have my wallet and every single time.
Mm.
I found that weird, but I couldn't figure out
You
what
couldn't
I used
place
to
your
do.
hand on that because you weren't settled, you know. Hmm.
Yes,
Mm.
yes.
So what toll did living with him take on your self-esteem and mental health?
Okay, so where do I start from? Like I said, the gaslighting started to make me feel like I was crazy.
Yeah.
And then another thing, I'm going to go a bit spiritual. So, you know when people say there's fire in the tongue, I
Mm.
am going to categorically say that that is very true. Because he wanted to portray a certain image, he never had money.
Mm.
So a lot of times I would always have to, I would always have to bring out more than I wanted to. So it left me always scared that, oh, if there's an emergency, I don't have my own personal money to fall back on. So because there was never money, it affected the atmosphere in the house.
Mm.
So really, I feel like we looked rich to outsiders, but
Mm.
I knew that we looked like poor people. So I was always anxious. I did not realize that I was depressed.
Mm.
I was always crying. I was constantly crying. Well, later I realized that is a sign of depression.
Yeah.
I had trouble sleeping. I think I kind of became addicted to sleeping pills, but at that it did not look like an addiction
Mm.
because I remember when I was relocating, I went to. You should have seen me go around Lagos looking for pills to buy to take with me because I have gotten used to. I needed sleeping pills. I traveled with them only to find out that I didn't need them when I got to where I went. So I started to rely confession. I think I started to rely on sleeping pills and alcohol at times,
Wow.
just so that I could sleep longer. You know, there are times you just want to sleep longer as a way of distorting accepting your present reality. If that makes any sense.
It does. It does. It
You
does.
know, so I started to, then there were times where I would just, I felt, I know on Instagram I looked like I was confident and everything, but I know that there were times on Instagram I would write, if I don't know if you have, but those times when I wrote, I felt like I was living a double life. That was what was happening. I looked confident online, but to be honest with you, behind the scenes, I was always crying. I didn't feel I was good at anything. So yes, I was doing broadcast advocacy, but I still doubted myself. It was that bad. It was that bad.
Wow.
You know?
Wow. Wow. You know, because they have to make themselves, they have to make you smaller, you know, so that they will be up, you know, and feel superior. So that's what the narcissist does. They break you down. They make sure that you doubt yourself. They make sure that you don't see yourself as worthy enough, or are you even happy, you know, that you're living with them because they are better than you, so to speak. How did they
And then another
yeah,
thing.
yeah,
Sorry, go on.
yeah, no, continue.
Then another thing, when I so slowly over the years, I think, you know, when you build a wall and the bricks start falling one by one, it just started going, falling slowly over the years. Then reactive abuse started.
What do you mean by
I
reactive
started to
abuse?
react.
Okay.
So reactive abuse, it's a defense mechanism
Okay.
where you as the victim almost become like the abuser.
Okay, and that's
So
what they will portray to
you
the world, because they are quiet about theirs, but when you say your own, it's
yes.
more forceful. So they portray that and say, look, you can see who she's. Am I not the victim here? I understand what you're trying to say. So maybe let me
So
give
I
an
started to look
example.
like a crazy person.
Let me give an example. So somebody comes into the room, he has a fight with you,
Yes.
you know, he pushes you against the wall and everything, and then you start to shout and everything. By the time he hears the neighbors coming in, you know, by the gate, he sits down quietly on the chair and looking very innocent, and you are the one shouting, you are the one saying, oh, I won't take this, I won't. And then he turns to the neighbors and say, can you see how she's behaving? Did I touch her? Did I do anything? And you begin to look like you are the aggressor. Is that a
So
good
yes, I started
example?
to look like the crazy. So in fact, at some point, I saw a text message. This man was planning with my brother to put me in a psychiatric home.
Wow. Wow.
I saw the text message. I will never forget it.
And then that will also make you wonder and think to yourself, man, has it gotten that bad? Am I going crazy truly?
I started going for deliverance. So I thought that I was having demonic manifestation because I didn't know what was happening. I went to first, in fact, I don't want to talk about that part. I went to clear, you know, when you start looking for places where you can go for deliverance.
Yeah.
I started to do that.
Wow.
I started to do that.
And how did
if they had told me to drink chicken water, I probably would have drank it because I just felt I thought I was cursed. I thought there was something wrong with me. So I started looking for different places to go for deliverance.
And how did the behavior affect other areas of your life? Your friendships, work, and even your physical health? Are you sure? You know, because with all the stress that you went through, could that be the reason why you had cancer? Because they say cancer, you know, stress is a very big factor for cancer.
To be honest with you, I believe that is why I had cancer. And then I also lost a lot of friends, and I will explain how. So, with being married to, going out with my mom and being married to him,
Mm.
I had so the shadow following me was the shadow of justice.
Mm.
So I started to react to injustice.
Mm.
So for any time someone did anything to me, I would just cut off. I would just cut off from the person.
Mm.
Because I'll be like, when you're going up, someone wants to do something, you say, oh, you can't chance me and all those things. So I realized that shadow of wanting to always defend myself against injustice just kept following me.
Mm.
So whenever I came across it anywhere, I would react. There was a time I was driving back from church with my son. He mistakenly, I don't know, he almost mistakenly hit a police car. Next thing, they blocked us. Five police guys jumped out with guns. One of them now hit my son's head. Because as soon as the boy came out, he started begging. Me,
Mm.
I'm very thankful I was not on my phone when he was driving.
Yeah.
So I saw what happened.
Yeah.
And not because he was my son, but I saw what happened. One of them just hit his head. And maybe there were five men with guns. I jumped in. Like a crazy person. Why? Because my sense of injustice has been
And
triggered.
enlightened, yeah, heightened rather. And so anything that seemed to you like injustice, you would just go straight
Yes,
and react in a way that might not really even justify that action that was taken.
exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly.
Hmm. So, what was the turning point that made you decide to leave or set firm boundaries?
Okay, so the turning point. There was one night we were having a conversation. I noticed he was with his phone.
Mm.
And I said, I hope you are not recording the conversation. He said no. Yeah, I wasn't even, but like I said, me, I'm a very expressive person.
Mm.
If I mess up, I have no problems with you telling me you have messed up. So a lot of times, I really don't have anything to hide. I don't know if I do anything wrong. I will tell people, um, what's her name? Rahab is from Jesus, the genealogy. So if they can write about Rahab in the Bible, please, what step? You cannot kill me. You
Mm.
can tell me you messed up, but you cannot kill me.
Mm.
So the next day, we had to go back to that same conversation. At some point, he now whips up, brings down his phone. He had almost already edited some part of. Yes, I remember what the conversation was about. I was telling him that I was going to leave the marriage and I was going to take
Your child.
the last born with
Mm.
me.
Mm.
And he was trying to. So I know he was trying to manipulate the situation. So don't think that you can use him as a pawn to make me stay. But what wants to do one, I will live without him. He
Mm.
manipulated the video stuff, the recording stuff that it was that I will live without him that
Mm.
he played back.
Mm.
Yes, I was angry because I was like, but I asked you if you were recording the conversation.
Mm.
So I left the area, I went into the room. No, I'm going to be very specific when I'm giving this and saying this thing because
Mm.
trust me, when they push you, I'm not even going to say he comes, but let me just go ahead. I went into another room.
Yeah.
I felt like my spirit was leaving my body.
Mm.
I went to the kitchen. I went to get a knife.
Mm.
And I told him, I said, if you don't leave this house tonight, I will either kill you.
Or kill myself.
No, I think I'll kill myself. No, I can't even this is not killing myself. I told him, if you don't leave this house this night, I will kill you. And I meant it.
Mm.
So when the person needs to leave, that's bullshit because they don't know what happened.
Mm.
So, excuse my French. So, if you don't leave this night, I will kill you.
Mm.
Looking at me because I think he thought I was joking. And I told him, I said, if you don't want to leave, call the police. Tell them because my social police people were, oh, domestic, but so just call the police. When your wife is with a knife, she wants to kill you. Then she come and take me away. Why was I doing all this? I think I've gotten to the stage where I thought of people not understanding what I was going through because it was not physical abuse. I got to that channel where maybe I could sit down and just tell everything that has been happening to me. So I told him, I said, call police. But I will not leave this house because I think if I leave this house, nobody will know what has happened and what has been happening. He was not like, oh, why are you doing this? I said, I'm not joking. I said, if you don't want that, drive out, I will drive behind you. We will go to the. I keep insisting on you calling the police. Look at what this man did. He left the house. He did not call the police. So he did not call the police. He left the house. I just started telling everybody that I had threatened to kill him. He never mentioned. He
that happened before.
Till he died. Till he died. He never told anybody that I had told him to call the police.
So we're a bit out of time, but I just wanted to find out what advice. Two questions, what advice do you have for someone who is financially and emotionally dependent on a narcissist? And then how did you begin the healing process after leaving the relationship?
What financial and emotional? First, have a community. If you don't have good family, leave those ones. There are friends, there's church. Find a community. You will find one. Find a community. I believe that God always sends us help in our time of need. So find a community. Then, unfortunately, you have to look for a means of getting income. Get a job, start a business. But if you don't have those two, if you don't have your support, your community, and money, it's very hard to live a narcissist. It's very hard. So in my healing process, the first thing was I needed to leave where I was. So we had left the house, but guess what? We left the house, but I was still crying every day. Why? Because now that I had realized who I was married to, the house became a prison filled with bad memories.
Yeah.
So I knew I needed to leave. So my healing process started when
you left
I left the house and left the country. Yes, when I left the environment.
Do you think narcissists can change with therapy, or is it best to walk away completely?
In the point, I made it a prayer point because I read that a lot. So I just told myself, no, that my case will be different. But I want to see if it will change. They don't change, they get worse. I would not have said this when I started studying about it. But from what I have seen and heard and watched, I do not believe they change. Even if they change, maybe 1 in 1,000, they don't change. And they are able to manipulate therapy. Funny enough, because he went for therapy with me, and when he left, that's what even the therapist was saying. But he looks like a good man. So yeah, they're even able to manipulate the therapist.
Yeah, because they're very manipulative people. Now, what are the lessons? Yes. Just give me 2 lessons you learned about yourself after this experience. What you've learned about it, what it has brought out of you, apart from the reactive response to injustice.
I realized that I was always a strong person, but I didn't realize it. That was number 1. And number 2, I realized that autonomy is a gift that you should always give yourself. I know what I mean by autonomy. That gift of being able to make decisions on your own without having to rely on other people's opinions. I think those are the 2 things that I have realized. Because I left Nigeria in 2023. This is 2025. I have a good job. I'm back in school. I live in my own apartment. I have my own car. My son is doing well. I don't have stress myself. So hey,
Thank you so much, Ngozi. We have to draw a close to the discussions now, and thank you so much for coming on, sharing your story. I know it's early in the morning where you are at, and I just want to thank you for sharing with us your story. I might call you back sometime soon because we've not even scratched the sand, as to what
Yeah.
your experience has been so far. But to all those that have been listening to us, today's discussion has been deep, it's been emotional, and it's been incredibly important. If you're living with a narcissist, please know that you're not crazy. You're not weak and you're not alone. You deserve to be in relationships that nurture and support you, not ones that drain and destroy you. Like Ngozi has said, narcissists can be charming. Therapy said, oh, he was such a nice guy when she heard him. They can be powerful and even addictive to be around with. But their true nature often leaves a trail of emotional damage. Whether in a romantic relationship, family, or workplace, dealing with the narcissist requires strong boundaries, self awareness, and sometimes the courage to walk away. If you recognize the signs, trust your instincts. You deserve to be in relationships where you're valued, heard, and respected, not manipulated, gaslighted, or drained. Healing is possible and support is out there for you. Remember, protecting your peace is not selfish, it is necessary. If today's discussion resonated with you, remember that support is available and you're not alone. And you can seek professional help, you can join support groups, you can utilize supportive apps, and you most importantly, educate yourself. Thank you for tuning in to Life with Tara today. Until next time, stay strong, stay aware, and most importantly, stay true to yourself. See you next week, Sunday at 1 p.m. on Life with Tara. My name is Tara Aishida. Thank you for listening.
Love is in the air at Women Radio 91.7 FM, and we're spreading double the love this Valentine's season. From February 1st to 28th, take advantage of our double dose Valentine's promo. Book an advert spot with us and we'll double it absolutely free. Yes, you heard that right. Twice the exposure, twice the impact, with no extra cost. It's our special way of showing love to our incredible customers and listeners. Don't miss out. Book your slots today. For more details, email sales at wfm917.com or call 0806 0933 694 or 0806 0092 137. The Women Radio